Hey guys, into the end here, we're going to do a draft today. I've only done one draft this entire month, and it's halfway through the month, so I figure it's time to start making the push for Masters. And let's see how it goes. I like Prophetic Stranger, although it is a 7 drop and it is 2 colors. Let's see what other options I have. Out of this pack, I like the Stormcrasher the most, I think. I think there's a lot of cards here that are pretty good if you have the right deck for it. The Amethyst Ring, of course, is an excellent enabler if you do plan to make any kind of a Life Force deck, and those are actually very powerful. I'm not a big fan of Life Force decks, but if I was being adventurous, I would take the ring and try to see if a Life Force deck is open, because it's pretty fun to have one that works, even though it doesn't happen very often. But of course, the safest pick is the Stormcrasher here. I think the Herald, the Talons, and the Blinkwolf are all very safe. All 4 of these cards are very safe. The Prophetic Stranger has the biggest upside, and the Amethyst Ring has the highest potential for an exciting deck. And you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, who wants to watch another serious deck anyway, right? There are plenty of other streamers out there that drafts good decks. Why don't we go deep and pick up this Amethyst Ring and see if we can draft something spicy? Yep, I'm very happy to follow that up with an Extract. Extract is possibly the second best card in this pack, maybe tied for first. I like the Hunter's Harpoon a lot. This card is very, very powerful. But as it is with all cards that are like this, it's conditional. 4 drop is pretty expensive, and whenever you put this onto a unit, you are open to getting blown out by any kind of removal spell. Extract, whereas Extract is almost just always solid in the early to mid game. This is an excellent removal spell, allows you to improve your draw quality a little bit by checking out your next card. And even in the late game, often if you have to, you can trade Extract plus another unit for one of your opponent's bigger units, which is not too bad. Skywalk Constructor is very good. The Amber Ring is very, very good if you have a more of a slower mid to late game deck. But I think I'm perfectly happy picking up Extract, giving us 2 Life Force enablers in our first 2 picks. If this was a serious draft, the last pick may have been the Stormcrasher, in which case this pick would have definitely been the Hunter's Harpoon. But because we're trying to make a fun deck, an exciting, interesting deck, let's go with Extract here. Okay, Minotaur Oathkeeper is by far the best card in the pack. Argenport is pretty decent. It's unfortunate that we're not going to be in Zenin, because that's where all the good payoff cards are for Life Force. For example, this Voyaging Lumen here. The Voyaging Lumen isn't good enough for me to pick at 3rd pick. I think you can pick these up quite late, even if I do want it. The Humbug Swarm is very good, but I think the Minotaur Oathkeeper is just so much better. You don't really want to start picking really high curve cards very early in the draft. What that means is later on in the packs, you're forced to pick up weaker, crappier 1 and 2 drops to fill out your curve. Whereas if I picked a good 1 and 2 drops now, there are plenty of decent, expensive cards to pick up later on. Zenin Banner is fine, but I think I'll take up this Minotaur Oathkeeper and swing into Argenport here. If this was a better Life Force card, I would consider taking it over the Minotaur Oathkeeper. Like, you know, if this was the Blood Caller, Bloodcaster, the 3/5, 5 power for 3/5 that Life Forces units. That would have been a good pick, but as it is, I'm just gonna go with the Oathkeeper here. Okay, there's a lot of Talons coming around. There's been 3 packs, and I think this is the 3rd one. I think Talon is quite good. I think green might be open, because this is actually a pretty good 2 drop. The Argenport Stranger is a very solid pick here, but I suspect it's easier to pick up 2 drops. See, if we pick up a 2 drop Stranger that is not in our colors, it's still a playable 2 drops, even though it doesn't fix colors. But there aren't that many 2 drops that are removal spells like the Talon, so I think I'll take this over everything here. The only other card I may consider, other than the Stranger and the Talon here, is the Jolton Cyclops, which is a very good card, but it's a double blue card. I think I would take the Talon over it for now. And there's no consideration for any other card in this pack. Okay. Geez, blue is certainly open, and black is looking like it's dry, despite the fact that we first picked two black cards, shadow cards. But I think in this point here, I'm going to start swinging this deck towards Justice and Primal, because the Stormcrasher is just quite good. So let's just go ahead and take that. Yeah, blue and green are both open. Shadow might be open because Direwolf Prowler is very good. So I'm still not sure which two color I want to be, but let's just see. Let's see what the best cards are. Actually, I think the best card here is the Direwolf Prowler, to be honest. The Yeti is underwhelming. It trades with any other 2-drop. The Herald is fine, nothing amazing. This is a very, very slow removal spell. Grenade is quite good, but I don't want to take a red card. I'm actually just going to go back here and take up this Direwolf Prowler. Because this is to me a sign that Shadow is open, because this card is actually quite good. Okay, and once again we don't have a Shadow card, so these signals are really hard to read. So we're not going to take any of the time cards or the fire cards. The choice is between the blue and the green. I'm actually not a very big fan of the Cloud Snake Hatchling. Only in a deck with a lot of enablers, I would say this card is decent, but I think the Rebel Rouser might actually be better here, so I'm gonna go ahead and take up the green card. Okay, that's weird. There's playable cards in every color except for black. That really sucks. We're much more likely to be green than we're likely to be blue. So we're just gonna go ahead and pick up this Stalwart Silverwing, which I don't like. I think I prefer the Awakened Sentinel, but I don't think picking a 8th pick time card is a good idea. Yeah, and double blue for this card makes it impossible to splash, so I have to be in a blue as a primary color, and we only have one blue card so far, even though I think blue is open. I think blue is open, I think green is open, but I'm not sure about these other colors. Maybe every color is open except for black, but let's just stick with the Stalwart Silverwing here. So red is apparently the most open. If we splash any of the red cards, the Hidden Shiv might be the best one. Let's just go ahead and do that. Huh. Well, green is super open because Prosecutor at Arms is an excellent card. Better than the second copy of the Talon. Another Rebel Rouser. We're not going to play 2 copies, I don't think. Not a big fan of 2 of these. Okay, so we have 12 somewhat playable cards so far. Midnight Gale is gross. But I think black is not open on the first pack, and blue is only slightly open. Going for a heavy black and blue card. This card may be very difficult to cast in Limited. But it is a legendary, and I do want to eventually play with this card in Constructed. Alright, so sorry guys, I'm just going to take this for the value. I actually have always wanted to craft some of these to make a Felm Temple deck, and I only have 1 copy, so I'm actually just going to pick this up for future constructed deck options. Suffocate, I think if this card wasn't in the pack, I think Suffocate would be the pick. Well, maybe not, because we're still not really sure if we're in black. We picked up this Life Force Enabler and then picked up 0 Life Force cards. Maybe the better pick would have been in a Stranger or the Mark of Shame, or even the 3/3 Flyer, but let's just take the Midnight Gale and not overthink it too much. Awakened Students are very powerful. This pack is okay. The District Infantry is good for us if we're going very aggressive. Plague is really, really good for us, actually, if we are still in Shadow, but we're not sure about that. And Awakened Student, of course, is one of the premium 2-drops, really. But we are not in Combre. This is problematic. What I think I'm going to do here is actually take the Seek Power. Fixing is always good, and this gives us the most options, especially because we're not really sure if we want to be Shadow yet. Alright, so considering what we know about the first and will be the third pack, we know that fire is very open. So there is a consideration for going to fire, but clearly these fire cards aren't good enough for us to make that switch. We know that pretty much every color in the first and third pack is open except for black. So if we are to play a Shadow, we have to pick up all the good Shadow cards in pack 2 and 4. And that's a bit risky. We could take the Sprite. The Sprite is actually a very good tempo card, and we do have a decent enough playable in blue. So if we Kai all the Shadow cards, and let's say we splash fire if we want to with a Seek Power, this Ice Sprite is actually a very good card for this kind of a deck. I like the Ice Sprite quite a bit, actually. It might be enough to entice me to go into Hooru here. This is a fantastic removal spell. The Renegade Valkyrie is fine if we want to go into Rakano. Actually, that's a good consideration too, because we know that fire is open on the next pack. Rakano may also be a very good option. And so far, the Rebel Rouser and the Minotaur Oathkeeper both work very well with the Renegade. But I think I'm going to stick with the blue here because I think this card is a bit better than the Renegade Valkyrie, because this card is good on its own. You can play it at any time. You can top deck this card and play it, and it instantly takes care of one of your opponent's threats, and it demands an answer from them. Whereas the Renegade Valkyrie is actually not good until you have something else as well. So let's just go ahead and take the Ice Sprite. Okay, Lightning Strike is a fine card. I think Lightning Strike is the best card out of the pack, regardless of whether or not we make the switch to blue. None of these black cards are as good as Lightning Strike. The only other card that I may take over Lightning Strike is Awakening Student, but we're not in those colors, so I think it's pretty clear that we take the Lightning Strike here. Static Bolt is fine, but I already have a card that does 2 damage and one that does 4, and a removal and a removal spell. We're actually doing pretty decent in that department. I'm actually okay picking up this 5 power 4/4, and the snowball sometimes makes a difference and gives you a free kill on a 3/1 flying unit or something like that. So I think this is actually a pretty solid 5-drop. So let's just go ahead and take that up. Taking the Felm Banner may allow me to splash a Shadow card of some kind, but none of these are really splashable cards. Mark of Shame is fine, but I don't love this card. It's not a true removal spell. Yeah, I guess the choice here is between the Fell Banner for a potential black splash later on, or just go ahead and take the Mark of Shame and not worry about the splashing at all. I am actually not really that impressed by Mark of Shame. I don't care about this card too much. Oh, whatever. We'll take it. We'll take it. It's definitely a playable card, and the banner is nothing more than a speculative pick. Oh wow, wow. Yeah, Throne Warden is really good, so we're gonna take that here. It's unfortunate because all 3 of these cards are quite playable. I actually like Unstable Form a lot because it's pretty fun. You can play it on your 6-drop after you have used this ability, and a lot of 7-8 drops are quite good. But it's also a very good removal spell if your opponent has a must-answer, very problematic threat. You have a pretty good chance that it becomes a less powerful one when you use Unstable Form on them. So it's actually very good, but I think Throne Warden trumps everything else in this pack by a pretty large margin. Oh, very happy to play Copper Hall Recruit, a very good defensive card. Oh, Wow. Yep, I'm more than happy to pick up the Crown Watch Longsword. Second sight would be good if we have a bunch of Echo cards, but we don't. Armorsmith? Sure, why not? Take a Devour. If anything, if we splash anything at all, a Devour is an okay splash, I suppose. Wow, I think there are quite a few good cards for our deck. Tireless Stranger is perfectly fine. 3 mana, 3/3s are 3 power, 3/3s are good. The Cyclops is also very good, and Strength of Many is excellent. I'm actually thinking of taking the Strength of Many because Combat Tricks wins games, especially good ones like Strength of Many and Finest Hour, the two best Combat Tricks in green. Well, actually, that's not true. The Revenge +5/+5 is also very good. I'm going to go ahead and pick up the Strength of Many. I value Combat Tricks a lot. Yeah, that's right. This is fine. Ooh, Banish. Good card. So none of the blue card... Oh, I think it's... Okay, I didn't see the High Wind Glider. This is clearly the pick. The High Wind Glider is got the highest upside. It's a fantastic blocker. It's a 1/5. You can... If your board is state is somewhat at parity, putting this card in play will let you run away with the game very quickly. The Horn Grinder is very powerful if you have the right kind of deck for it, and we do actually have quite a few cards that will help us boost this. Throne Warden, for example, works really well with it. Talon is good, and then we also have the Armorsmith, which I'm probably not gonna play, but yeah, the High Wind Glider I think is a clear pick here. By far the best card. Yeah, Emerald Ring. So green is definitely the place to be. I think if the Emerald Ring wasn't in this pack, I would take the High Branch Sentry or the Bring Down. I don't need a second copy of... I don't mind a second copy of the Talon, but it's not as good as these two cards. But definitely the Emerald Ring. This card is very difficult to beat. One copy of it is very good. Can we splash the Mortar? We have 1 Seek Power. Mortar is by far the best card. I don't care too much about the Ridgeline Watcher. I definitely don't want to play Tinker. And I'm not sure if I cared that much about a second copy of the Talon. So I think... And I don't have any direct damage spells, so there's no point picking up the Shaman here. I'm actually looking at this Mortar and thinking about whether or not I can splash it. Because I would really like to play the Mortar over any of these other cards. Question is, if I pick the Mortar, right? If I take a risk and I pick the Mortar, how much am I going to regret not having these cards here? And I think the answer is I'm not going to regret it that much. So it's a low risk, high reward pick. So let's just pick the Mortar and see what happens. Oh, Alien's Choice. Fantastic. Archive Curator would have been a good card to splash as well. But I think very clearly Island's Choice here. This card's excellent. Yep, I'm okay picking up a 0/7 as a blocker. Another High Wind Glider. Do I need 2? 2 might be too many in a deck. 2 might be too many. I already have 3 6-drops, although Cerso's Mendling I don't need to play. I already have 2 6-drops. And if I do have... If I want to build into more of a late game deck, I actually don't have that strong of an early game. But I think it's easy to pick up 2 and 3 drops to chump block with, and harder to pick up stuff like this. Trailblaze is another one worth looking at. Actually, you know what? I really don't like the idea of having... Because one problem with the High Wind Glider is that you don't benefit from having 2 copies in play. So as long as you draw 1 copy late into the game when you have abundance of power, then you're fine. So really, you just need the 1 copy. I think I'll just take the Trailblaze here for curve purposes. I'll take the 4 power 2/2 flyer over the... Oh, nice. Sorry, the 4 power 2/2 flyer, the Militant over another Talon, I think it was. I don't even remember anymore. Let's just take the Duelist Blade. Sorry, my train of thought got interrupted because I saw this card and I was just so excited to see it, and I've now completely forgotten what I was going to say. Perfect, this is exactly what we're looking for. Copper Hall Herald. A Crown Watch Squire isn't something I want, but, you know, it might be playable. Divining Rod. That's a card you don't get to play in Limited. Oh, Pillar of Almar is brutally powerful, but I think we have a lot of good options here. I'm not going to take the Bronze Karaz because I think 4 power is actually pretty expensive. And the fact that it doesn't offer any power, we have a lot of units that have very low power already. So this card is nothing more than another defensive way to make one of our defensive creatures like these even more defensive. And I don't think I need to do that. A 2/5, a 0/7, a 1/3 that turns into a 3/5, I think is already pretty good at blocking. I think for me really is Levitate and Cobalt Acolyte. Levitate is a very good card. I really like this kind of cantrip. But I think I'll take the Cobalt Acolyte. This card is a perfectly fine card to play in a vacuum. A 3-mana 2/1 flyer is okay. And often you get a very nice benefit in making one of these large units flying, and then it leaves behind a 2/1 body to block. That's quite good. Yeah, I think I'll take the Cobalt Acolyte over the other cards here. Ooh, Annihilate. I'm not sure if I want the second Acolyte over the Minotaur Grunt, just because, like I said, we have some pretty sweet high end, and all we need to do is survive the early game. And Minotaur Grunt is an excellent card to do that. And right now, we have basically no 1 and 2 drops. We have Minotaur Oathkeeper, which is a very aggressive option, but not defensive. The Harrow is a defensive option, but that's it. I don't even know if I want to play the Silverwing here. So we actually don't have any other 2-drop units. So I'm actually kind of starved for this kind of stuff. So let's just go ahead and take the Grunt here. I definitely won't play the 7-drop. I think the choice here is between the Elder's Feather and a Stranger. Stranger for no other reason than to use it to block, but it also helps us splash the Mortar because it has the red. And I think I am going to take the Stone Scar Stranger because we have so many units that are really weak on the attack. Like putting an Elder's Feather on any of these units is really bad, right? Our deck is super defensive. And it doesn't kick in until we get to the 5-drops. So let's just make sure we get to the 5-drops by taking this. Oh, wow. Alright, we're gifted with a bomb. We're just gonna snap pick the 4-tree Elder. Nothing comes remotely close to the power level of this card. Valkyrie Aspirant is fine. I'm not sure that we'll play it, but we'll pick it. Yep, Bright Mace Paladin is also very good. We'll take that. Flight Lieutenant. That's the game finisher we're looking for. All right. So this deck is getting there. This is slightly more aggressive, but this is a little bit more safe. I'm actually going to take the safer option just because I just want to not die. Oh wow, 4th last pick finest hour. This is a gift. Green is certainly open. My 5-drop slot is pretty good. I don't know if I actually need this, but a fast instant speed 2 damage spell can be pretty useful. I think we're actually kind of unlikely to play either of these cards, but if I have to pick one, I might pick the Alchemist Blast over the Fledgling here. Because my 5-drop is so heavy right now. And, oh no, not my 5/6 drop. My curve is pretty high. But I'm not, I picked the Aerial Ace over the Fledgling last pick. So, Duelist Blade is much better. The Hunter, I think, is better. Throne Warden is way better. It's not like, I don't really want a 5th 5-drop, right? I'm gonna take the Arctic Blast here. Wow, District Infantry, 2nd last pick. Okay, so I think this draft actually went pretty well. We have correctly identified the open colors, in green anyway, but not blue. But I think the draft went quite well. This deck is pretty strong. It's got a decent amount of early game plays, and it's got some very strong late game. So I think this deck is quite good. I'm not sure about the Rebel Rouser. I might not want to play any copies of it. Let's just put in all the cards that I'm 100% sure I would like to play, and then we'll worry about filling the rest of the curve later. Yeah, I think I can afford to splash the mortar because I have a Stone Scar Stranger and I also have a Seek Power. So two sources of fixing already is not too bad. The cards. Oh wait, I didn't click this. Okay. Actually, let's put in these cards as well. That I won't play. The Armor Smith I think I'll pass on. And I'm not aggressive enough to play the District Infantry or the Valkyrie Aspirant, or the Stalwart Silverwing. I think those cards are too weak on their own. Alright, so we have 31 Think cards here. This is an 18 power deck because I have a very high curve. And I'm even going to play 18 lands plus the Seek Power, so that's basically 19. No, let's play 17 power plus Seek Power. That will give us 18 power sources. This is because you would just treat this card as a depleted power source. And that means we'll have to cut 3 cards. And we're going to start the cutting at the high end here. See if there's anything in the 5-drop that we can cut, or 6-drop. So none of the 6-drops are cuttable. I think they're all very good. The Flight Lieutenant is a bomb. It wins games when you draw it. Assuming you have a power in play, and that you have some units, of course. Hunter's good, Thornwarn's good. These are all good cards. Duelist Blade is good. I think the Aerial Ace is the weakest of my 5-drops, so let's just cut that first. The Valkyrie Militant, we only have one weapon. Oh, actually, no, that's not true. The Emerald Ring plays a weapon. This is a really good combo. Huh. I actually didn't think about this, but an Emerald Ring with a Valkyrie Militant is basically gaining 2 life every turn. Or if you have a weapon in play, if you have a relic weapon in play, you can buff it by 2 every turn. That's really gross. Too bad we only have the Talon, nothing else. Oh, no, we have the Duelist Blade. So imagine growing the Duelist Blade by 2 armor every single turn. Basically, every turn your opponent is unable to hit it, you can build up 2. So and after 3 or 4 turns, your opponent can never play another unit unless it has higher than 4 health, right? That's kind of disgusting. I don't think Rebel Rouser is a good card, so let's just go ahead and cut that. Mortar will keep. Mark of Shame, I think, is something we can cut. It is a pseudo removal spell, but it's not a very good one. Yeah, I think it's the most cuttable card. Yeah, let's just cut the Mark of Shame for now. That leaves us with 17 units, which is a little on the low side. But most of our units block quite well. 1/3, 1/3 for 2 mana. It blocks well for its own weight class, right? 0/7, 2 5s. And then we have a couple of small evasive units to chip away at our opponent while we hold the ground. And then we come into some very strong mid to late game options. And I think if we get to the 6 or 7 power mark, we will be able to overvalue our opponent with cards like these. The weakness of this deck is we don't have too many ways of dealing with really big bombs. I think Island's Choice is the only surefire way of removing a large unit. Ice Sprite is a pseudo removal because you have to assume that your opponent has removal spells in their deck. So this is pretty much going to buy you some time, but most likely not going to keep a unit stunned forever. Oh, we have another okay removal spell in Duelist Blade, but it's only 4 attack. And this is a pseudo removal spell. This is fine. This deck is okay. So let's just look at power. I don't believe we drafted any multicolored banners. So let's take a look. 3 fire sigils give us 5 access to 5 5 fire. 5 fire for a single fire card is too much. I think 4 is fine. This gives us 9. This gives us 10 justice and 7 primal. And I think 7 primal is not quite good enough. Actually, it might be good enough. I have very low primal requirements, in fact. None that requires double primal. And a lot of these cards in primal I can play quite late. I don't need to play the Ice Spread on 3, for example. And I certainly don't need to play the Cobalt Acolyte on 3, or the Trailblaze, or the Link Strike. So I think this is actually pretty good. I can go 8-7, so it gives us 9 and 8 split. But my green is significantly more important than my blue. I have to hit double green by 5 and by 6. Yeah, I think 10-7 is okay. 10-7 is okay. Alright, so I think this deck turned out alright. I think our draft went pretty well. I think we were in the right colors. Well, green was certainly the right color. Blue is debatable, but I think considering the fact that we got the Duelist Blade and also late Gliders, I think Hooru is a perfectly fine color to be in. I think this deck turned out quite well. I'll give this a solid 7.5 out of 10, perhaps. I will end the video here and record the gameplays separately. As always, thank you very much for watching. See you next game.